So, Meena, I am delighted to have you here. Thank you for coming on to the podcast to talk about feng shui. And I know we're going to be talking to that in a few different contexts that relate to both physical space, but then maybe some other energies as well that are of relevance to this audience. So, our home office, our work office, business, and potentially even relationships. So thank you for coming on. And I would love to hear a line or two about what you do in your words.
Thank you for the opportunity, Maya. Much appreciated. And nice to meet you all the way from North America here in the land of Vancouver, Canada. I am a classical feng shui master, and I put heavy emphasis on the word classical because this is where feng shui originated from, all the way from China. That's where my training comes from. And being the Indian background, I've also combined spirituality component into it. That training comes from Rishikesh, India, the birthplace of yoga. So clearing the stagnant energy in spaces and placing the proven calculated feng shui tools.
Wow. Okay. I hadn't appreciated that element of the spiritual coming from India and meeting the feng shui. So maybe that's why I was drawn to having you on because of my own Indian heritage as well. That's
Mhm.
super cool. So, shall we start by talking about our workspaces? Because I know that will be of interest to our listeners. We all spend time at workspaces, whether those are at home or at work. Increasingly, post COVID, people have some sort of a home space. So, shall we start with that and any general principles or anything that you would love to share as it pertains to that space?
Yes, no, that's a good start as well. When the world shut down almost 5 years ago now, we a lot of our clients, almost 50% or more of my consultations, whether they were in person or virtual, became an independent service of setting up home offices. And that is very important. For us to be productive, it's important that our energy is grounded and supported by in conjunction with the feng shui energy to set up home offices. So that is definitely I put heavy emphasis on it. Even when I do residential consultation, if there's a home office in the home, which as I said, a lot of us have now, it's important for us to have that focus. So if you have any questions, ask away. Home office is a very important component.
Yeah. So, if we are kind of thinking about ways to put some feng shui into practice, are there any principles that we could start with? I appreciate every space is going to be unique and, there are going to be individualities there, but are there any themes that you can share with the audience to get them thinking about some practical stuff that
Yes,
they can do?
starting from my own home office. As you can see, there's a solid wall behind me. That's very important to have. It's like the energy saying, "Don't worry, I got your back." It's
Oh,
it's important
wow.
to have. You see, in feng shui, it's all about supporting the back. So that's very important. When possible, I try to line them up so that they're supported by a solid wall behind them. Ideal situation should be that you have the solid wall behind you. You should be able to come flow freely at your desk and with no obstruction in the way, no shoes, no boxes, no plants, just free flowing and come around and sit at your desk. And again, ideally, you should be able to see the door. Energy shouldn't be at guard all the time. I don't know who's behind my back. I don't know. It's that connotation of what's going on behind my back. Should be able to see the window, and that is your perfect feng shui to start with for placement of desk. As
Wow.
far as what to have in your home office, I've
Can
written
I
a few
pause you?
blogs
I'm
on
so
it.
sorry. I don't want to interrupt your flow, but can I ask you one specific? So you can actually probably see in my office, there is a wall behind me, but I would say it's 2 meters away. Is that too far? Like when you say behind you,
No, no, that's perfectly
okay.
fine. Energetically, you have a wall supporting you. What I was referring to is a lot of times, due to limitation of space, people are facing a wall.
Ah,
Their desk is against a wall and they're facing a wall. Well, what does that denote? That denotes that no matter what I'm doing, I'm hitting a wall.
Yes, absolutely. And
not
I
going
just
anywhere.
I just want to share that I had a few options when I was figuring out where to be, and where some of the options were facing a wall, and I just was completely repelled from those options. And so I'm actually facing a window. I can't see the door other than, through a camera, though. That is, maybe a challenge. I mean, I can see it out of the corner of my eye, but it's interesting what we are also naturally drawn to, isn't it?
Yes, yes. And again, we always say those energetic nudges are always there. Are we being mindful? Because most of us are born with the same amount of intuition. It's how mindful are we of them? Are we paying attention? And then that amplifies. But if we say, no, 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 I'm just going to do it this way, well, then it stops at that, right? So obviously you were being mindful of what was coming, calling you.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. So I interrupted you when you were about to start talking about what to have in your space. So do you
Yeah,
want
no,
to?
no, don't worry. It's not considered an interruption. It's a very important question because a lot of your listeners might have the same scenario.
Yeah.
So yes, being mindful of really having a free flow energy. You come, you sit at your desk. What are you seeing? Now, what else is in your working space? You see, there's something to be said for when we come out from through the door frame. Our energy shifts. If we're going into a bedroom, that energy shifts to now, is it a sleep environment, or is there a treadmill and a gym and an ironing board in there and so on? Same thing in an office. Many, many times I just worked with a virtual client in the US a couple of days ago, and she's already reported she loves going into her home office now. And that was just on Friday, so that's 4 or 5 days ago. And so it's important to have loving things in your space that your energy is welcome there. So, as far as home office, it should be things pertaining to productivity, pertaining to something that you love. Display your artwork that's associated with it or something that warms your heart. And we always say you can have one family picture in there. I mean, like, of course, that warms your heart, but don't make a whole wall full of family pictures or trips because there's a space for that somewhere else in the home.
I love
And
that.
display your accomplishments, your achievements.
Mm.
Only have current files at your desk, file everything else away. You see, the subconscious mind has so much power behind the scenes. We think we're just going from here to there, but the subconscious mind picks up everything. So it's important to only have things that are productive. Should I continue elaborating?
Oh yeah, this is
Yes.
so fascinating, and I'm just I'm looking at my desk right now, and I'm thinking, gosh, it's a little bit messy. So
No,
it's
it's
not
very important. Yes.
and
And
it's
then plants, Maya,
yeah.
plants. There
Mm.
are certain plants like a ZZ plant. We love the snake plant in a bedroom and especially in a home office for two reasons. One, it's a very energetic, purifying plant. But secondly, it doesn't go crazy big or wild. It's okay in low light if we don't have too much natural light coming in. So plants, crystals. I have a ebook on my website for 8 crystals that we use in feng shui. We don't worry about the other 200 because there's one for every area of life, one for love and relationship, one for productivity, one for health. But when it comes to home office, it's citrine. I'm actually wearing a citrine bracelet, but you see behind me here, do you see the citrine?
Yes.
That is the crystal for career enhancement. So
Oh
I
wow.
cleanse them, I purify them, then I pass them on to my clients after I embed their address into the crystal. Citrines, empower yourself. That's a gift from Mother Earth. We just need to know what it's for and pay respect to it. So again, crystals, plants, lighting. Lighting is very important.
Let me
That you
pause you. Let me pause you. Or do you
Mhm.
want to finish on lighting, and then I've got a few questions?
Yes, yeah. So lighting is very important. It shouldn't be directly at you because you don't want too much energy coming right at you, but enough that you feel nice and awake and energized.
Yes, yes, okay.
Hmm.
So that's fascinating. The plants, the fact that you actually specified a plant, the snake plant, the ZZ, because I had a few flower pots, and I have to say, over the summer they started attracting lots of tiny little insects. So I was coming to my table and seeing, like, all this stuff. So I had to kind of get rid of them really quickly. And since then, I've been nervous to actually get a plant again. But we all know the visually how calming it is, so it's great to get an actual recommendation of a plant and just kind of go with that. Um, Anything else? Any other plants, or do you feel like just that's an easy one, evergreen?
Well, I'd love to elaborate quickly on it. So, yes, ask your local nursery because, again, different parts of the world have different plants, but as long as it will be okay in low light and stay, somewhat not get crazy big, because then we also don't like to for it to take over half our office. But having said that, I would love to quickly share with you a question very often asked in feng shui.
Yes.
Are they call them artificial plants, we call them silk plants. Are they okay? Yes and no. So if you can place a real plant, go ahead, but if you can't, it won't survive, or you don't have the space, get a beautiful small silk plant. You see, to the subconscious mind, it still denotes a plant, and it's also made of beautiful silk fibers, just as long as you have no dried flowers in there, because that's considered dead energy.
Oh, wow. Okay. All right. So no potpourri, basically. Okay. So that's on plants. That's given us some practical inspiration. I'm also so pleased that you've given a specific crystal there, because the world of crystals for many of us is very overwhelming. I probably need to get a crystals expert on, because I know that there is not only visual beauty, but it's natural, and that there is these energies that come. But I like the fact that you've specified one, and I have to say that one behind you looks really something. So I'm assuming that's a bigger one, but we could probably start small, right?
Well,
And
we've
find.
got small ones too, but Maya, just quickly on that, it's one thing to know which crystal, and it's one thing to then place it with intention. Very important, with intention. Not just, oh, let me go shopping and then tomorrow my business will double. No, with intention, grounding, meditation before you place it. But most importantly, clear it once a month with full moon energy. Otherwise, they get bogged down too. Just like if we don't take care of ourselves, or we're not sleeping, or we're not cleansing, crystals get bogged down by taking in so much energy. And full moon is a perfect time to clear the crystals. It's as simple as putting them out one day out of the 3 nights, 72 hours. Bring it back in the morning, place it with intention. This is my citrine crystal as an example, and I'm placing it because it's a crystal for career with respect, and you're good for another month.
Incredible. I'm so pleased that you've given the steps for actually cleansing it, because I was thinking, am I about to open Pandora's box there with a whole other set of topics? So you've kept that really manageable for us, and yet something that we can, consider adding. What was the other thing that you mentioned? You mentioned lighting, and I wondered if there's anything there that you wanted to elaborate on. Lamps are always good, right? Rather than having too much coming overhead. But I guess that's also then down to a bit of decor and taste, right? Like what we
Yes.
like visually.
Yes, decor and taste. The one thing that we do recommend in feng shui for most things, tables, desks, lamps, the shape. In feng shui, we're very mindful of not having sharp corners. So if you've got lights that have got the triangular shapes, piercing energy with the sticks pointing all over, that's not endorsed in classical feng shui. Something soft, something flowy. We ideally endorse round shapes or corners that are rounded off. So be mindful of that, and be mindful that it's not hovering right over you, and your energy is feeling heavy the whole time. But other than that, most importantly, you have to love it.
You have to, okay.
Yeah.
That's brilliant. Yeah. Unfortunately, I do have a few corners here that I can see, and now I'm actually realizing why sometimes those are off-putting in certain spaces. So that's super helpful. Okay, brilliant. I think you've given us some practical steps there. Now, I appreciate that not everybody is now, especially as people are moving back into the office more. Like I'm hearing that it's getting closer to more like 3 4 days a week that people are back in the offices now. So when we don't have complete control of our space, what might be one or two things that we can do to still bring some of that positive feng shui to our working spaces?
Yeah. You know, it starts with us. It starts with us. Are we coming into our home office? Are we going into an office out there? How grounded are we? I always say if our energy is grounded, taking that 5 minutes, listening to an empowering podcast on the way there, and just grounding our energy, walking in through that front door saying the white light has got me surrounded, I'm covered, and I'm grounded, and nothing can sway me today. So that's a beautiful start. Sitting at your desk, sitting with intention. And of course, all the things we talked about at your desk also apply yet in your cubicle, in your office, somewhere else. It doesn't matter where you are. It's your energy. Surround it, protect it, and make it a beautiful day.
Yeah, but I'm also thinking that when I used to work in open plan, I really struggled. I didn't have there was nothing behind my back, I guess, so I wasn't supported in that sense. I felt like my energy, I used to actually describe it that my energy felt scattered. And so if I needed to do deep focused, I always had to find an office space, like a small space so that I could focus on something. So just going back to that idea of having our back supported, I think that can be a challenge in open plan. And when I do talk to clients, we do often say for that deep work, open plan is probably not going to cut it. So I
Yes,
think
yes.
that's worth
Well, I mean,
keeping in
due
mind.
to limitations, especially in setups like call centers and so on, they don't have any other choice. But again, it all starts with us. There's a crystal called clear quartz. It's clear quartz. It's right into my citrine because we always say that if somebody's going to just get one crystal, get clear quartz because it's considered the mother of all crystals. It's right here. It's clear. This is what we use for grounding. It also amplifies the crystal you put it next to. That's why I have it in my citrine. But get that crystal, wear it if you need to. It's grounding your energy. Again, it's a subconscious mind is so powerful. It's all in us. And then the external doesn't affect us as much. Nowadays, there's also the earthing mats. They can have the small earthing mat, and right now I've got my feet on it. It's very grounding. These are simple things that you can have at any desk, whether it's in a private office or in an open space. The plant and just overall keeping your desk clutter free. Being mindful, being productive, and it all starts with our own energy.
Yes, yes. I think that's a great reminder. I guess what you're saying there is that you can do all of the practical steps, but if you haven't started there with that grounding and of yourself, then it may not have the same impact.
Yes.
The other thing, I haven't come across the earthing mats yet. Is that something which is in your world? It's clearly very obvious what that is, but is that easily available? And what does it
Yes,
do?
yes. I mean, it's even on Amazon, but there's earthing sites. We have earthing.com. In Canada, we
Okay.
have earthing.ca. People sleep on earthing sheets. It's very simple. They're not that expensive, but they've proven. I mean, that's not necessarily a feng shui thing, but that's definitely a grounding tool.
Okay. Yes. Fabulous. And
Mhm.
is it trying to mimic having our feet on the ground? On the
Yes,
real Earth. Okay.
yes.
Okay. And then when it comes to crystals as well, for those of us who are very early on in our crystals journey, where would you recommend we start with our purchasing? Can we go on Amazon or?
Well, if somebody has a question in general, I always say my DMs are always open because literally it'll take
Mm,
me 2 minutes to reply, and if somebody can benefit immensely at the other end. But having said that, if it's, I always say start with two things if you're being called to do so. One is a protection crystal. Protection is so important now. If we're in the limelight and we've got many energies coming towards us, it's important to protect our energy, and
mm.
protection is always on the right hand. So as you can see, I'm wearing a black tourmaline bracelet right here. That is protection. When I'm out, you will always see me wearing that. It's important to protect our own energy. Secondly, clear quartz, as I mentioned, we call it the mother of all crystals for a reason. If you just have one crystal, this is the crystal to have. It's very powerful. It's grounding. It enhances other crystals you put it next to, and start with that. Don't overwhelm yourself. And also, like I said, we have one ebook that I've created. It's free. It's on the website. 8 crystals that we use in feng shui. There's one for love and relationship, there's one for productivity, there's one to amplify the savings, one for health, and one for protection, and so on. That's it. And don't need to, because it can be,
It can be
people do
overwhelming. Okay,
start
that's
going.
a sounds like a really useful resource that you've got there, an ebook. So we will direct people to your. Is that on your website?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so we will direct people and put the link in for that because that sounds really good. When it comes to the actual like preferred suppliers, do you have any, or is that a separate? Um,
I send these out to my clients.
okay,
Again,
so
these
you are
are the
actually a
only
supplier.
8 if somebody's being called. But I always, I say that I was not cut out to be a salesperson. So this is my way of just educating people,
Yeah.
and they can go to their local metaphysical shop and make sure that the person that's selling it to them they connect to. You see,
Okay.
I'll quickly share an experience I had years ago, maybe 15 years ago now, in Europe somewhere in my travels, and I went up and I was fascinated, and I this is before I started my own energy journey, and I said, what is this crystal? And the person selling that said, I don't know, I just sell them. And you see, it still stays with me. It's important on who's at the other end. Did they clear them when they came from wherever, the Brazil or India or China, wherever they came from? It's important that they're cleared of their previous energies. And so this is what I'm very mindful of. I clear them, I embed the client's intention into it. So really connect with the person, and they can get them anywhere else too.
Okay, okay, that's really useful, and definitely I think would save some of us who are new from going down a wrong road and just ordering or buying from somebody who doesn't have what we feel is the right energy around that. It's also made me think of a couple of other things when it comes to clearing energy. So if I want to clear energy, I basically get incense. That's the only thing I have, or maybe light some candles. Is that one early step that we can take if we want to clear the energy in our space, or is there anything else that's accessible to myself and my listeners to actually do from an energy clearing perspective?
I truly think you read my mind, because as soon as I started to talk about the full moon and crystals, and I thought I should mention to Maya about energy clearing. You see, I am the only feng shui master that I know of that puts so much emphasis on clearing energy before we place feng shui tools, because otherwise it's a band-aid situation. So
Mm,
energy clearing in our spaces, if it's a home office, clear it in the entire home. I'll keep it very simple, Maya, but it is important. Start from the front door, go clockwise. It's always to the left. Okay,
okay.
go around, go around. You've gone through your kitchen, there's stairs, go up the stairs, come around, come down, come around. Now there's the sitting area, come to all the way to the back to the front door again. Go clockwise. Before you do that, open doors and windows. Use sage if possible. Sage is one of the most strongest herb to detach heavy energy. I have very strong mantras when I clean the energy professionally, but really it's the intention. Command the heavy energy that's not serving you to leave your space now, while you're focusing your attention on the open doors and windows. And when you're done, complete the rest of the sage outside. Your home is returned to you till end of the day. You may feel a little bit of a shift in the energy. Some people get really energetic, some get a little bit tired, or doesn't matter. Energy is just rebalancing itself. And drink more water till end of the day. It's a cleanse for you, and your space is cleansed for weeks and months to follow. It's as simple as that. Now, incense is good as a ritual. Incense is good as an intention. Incense is good as a follow-up. But if somebody's doing it for the first time, really give it a good cleanse with sage.
Oh, beautiful. That sounds wonderful. And it's coming at a time when I'm reading so much about, obviously, we're entering winter now, but the need to open our doors and windows. It can be easy to forget to do that and then just keep that trapped energy. So I think that fits, sometimes you hear things and they all just point to the same thing. So I am already picturing my energy clearing ceremony with the doors open and giving the house that refresh. And I have been always a bit nervous to get my sage. I haven't had any yet, but I think I need to get hold
Yeah.
of that. I've got some friends that can
So I'll
tell me
add
when.
something really quick to what you just shared.
Yeah.
So if possible, attempt to do it during daylight.
Yes.
Heavy energy loves dark spaces. It might be a bit more challenging if it's dark outside to release it. And secondly, some people may be sensitive to sage. Some people live in spaces where the alarm might go off. So, in that case, we always say, as a backup, use the sage essential oil. Make sure it's ethically sourced, a sage essential oil in a diffuser.
But you wouldn't keep that on at other times?
No, not all the
No,
time.
because
As
it's
an
quite
intention and as
yes.
a ritual, yes.
Yes, brilliant. Okay, so I think we've covered a really nice set of things there for my listeners around practical steps and a bit of the meaning behind that to give us a really good understanding there. And what I'd love to do now is move to the second episode where we can then start talking about how we apply this to other areas of our lives like business and relationships. So I think we leave it here for this part of the conversation, and then we'll start a second episode. Before I do that, two things. Anything else that you feel is important to add to this conversation that you want to chuck in?
Yes, I would love to talk about the Feng Shui vision board quickly. It's something that I offer once a year. It's coming up again in January, virtually around the world, and participants have seen amazing results, especially entrepreneurial women. It's the yin energy, I think. And one of the recent testimonials was, Meena, I can't keep up with my vision board. It's everything I put on there is transpiring. In 1 year, last year, she had to redo it 3 times. I mean, that's a great problem to have, right? So it's coming up and it's virtual. I talk about not just cut and paste. It's a lot more than that. Where's the relationship area on your vision board? Where's the health area? Where's the children area? The career area? The savings? And there's 9 areas in feng shui, and we place things strategically without overloading it. We place affirmations. Then I talk about where to place it in the home or office, how to visit it for 5 minutes in the morning. It's a beautiful, beautiful opportunity. So if any of your listeners would like to take advantage of that, like I said, it's offered once a year and it's coming up in January.
In January, the perfect time to be doing some of that envisioning work. So that sounds really interesting. My listeners are very used to hearing me talk about visioning and vision work, and I do that in quite a
Mm,
different way. So for those who like, it sounds like there is a vision board element. Is that right?
exactly.
Yeah.
I call it the feng shui vision board.
Okay, perfect. So for people who are interested in that vision board element and obviously have taken an interest in this conversation, then definitely check that out. We will put a link to that in the show note. So, Meena, thank you so much for joining me for this part of the conversation. And I look forward to reconnecting with you on the second part of this conversation.
Perfect. Thank you, Maya.
Brilliant. Thanks.